Hi everyone. So I wanted to shoot a relatively quick video today to talk about returning to play protocols and what your training should look like going back to sport, or even going back to a gym setting, or return to whatever it is your regular training was, whether it was for adventure races, running for a marathon, whatever it really is. There's some points in here that are going to be relevant to you. I'm going to talk about team sports first of all, so Gaelic football and rugby in particular, and what we're more than likely going to see over the coming months. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about the gym setting and what you should be doing with your training. I'm going to put more videos out on this. If anyone has been looking at any of the sports that have resumed so far, what we saw on the first weekend of the German Bundesliga being started up again was we saw quite a spike in non-contact soft tissue injuries. Not to be, I suppose that wasn't to be unexpected in some ways. Those guys were training all the ways along, but maybe their training could have been done a little differently, and maybe their load management could have been done a lot better. So we can take some certain learnings from what happened in the Bundesliga and apply it to our own training. So what I've got here is two different graphs, and what we've got along the left hand side here is load and then time. So these are weekly training blocks. So again, load and time. Here's what we should see when returning to sports, even when returning to a gym environment. Here's what we should see. Here's probably what we're going to see. So in the blue, what we've got is general training. So what we should see in the first week back at training, we should see general training. So what I mean by that is you should be focusing on conditioning. You should be building a good, strong base of conditioning. In particular, if you haven't kept that up, most teams should have been keeping that stuff up. Most people will have kept it up. But at the same time, you can't really make sure that everyone's done the same thing. So you've got to make sure that everyone's at a decent level. So we start with building a good aerobic base, really, really solid conditioning base. We're going to spend a few weeks doing that anyway, but our general training, conditioning, speed, strength, and power. We wouldn't look at any game-specific scenarios. We wouldn't look at any skill or sport-specific work. I wouldn't really be going into contact either in that first couple of weeks back, potentially. And most teams will have the luxury of doing that. And you're going to have a mini preseason before you get back into any types of games. So what we should see then as the weeks pass on, we should see the gradual introduction of specific skills. So our tactical work, our sport-specific work, and our small-sided games, contact drills. But it should be phased in its reintroduction as we bring down that general training modality, as our condition, our speed, power, and strength development has come back up to a level where it's reasonable to assume that we've built up enough stress resistance to mitigate any injuries and soft tissue damage that could potentially be done at the start of a season from not having enough stress resiliency built into the system, with enough load put into the system. That's a perfect scenario. That is where you would have the team coach and the strength coach, the strength and conditioning coach, in perfect unison, understanding what each other's roles are and understanding, this is how we should run it. Let's have a proper lead into our first game and make sure that everyone's in good nick getting in there. A decent marriage of load and general specific loads in particular. And you see there's a gradual increase in load. And we spoke about that in other videos anyway, in how you start to bring in overload into your training. And it should be a gradual up until that first game. And then it should continue to a degree depending on what you're actually looking to target, whether it's championship or whether it's a key game. More than likely what we're going to see is we might give it a week or two of some general work, but we're going to just go straight into specific because we've lost so much time. We've lost nearly 3 months. Lads haven't seen ball. Let's get them straight into small-sided games, skill work. Let's get them into a bit of contact. You're going to see injuries almost immediately. You're going to see injuries with that type of a process. And there's not enough general being done here, and there's already way too much specific stuff being done there. They haven't built up a base. You don't know where your team is at. And then you've got to week 3 possibly, and you're like, to hell with it. We're doing too much conditioning work. The lads are getting bored of the speed work. the gym sessions, the strength work and that power development stuff. So we've done all that back in January before the season started. Let's just, we'll spend half an hour, maybe a week doing it. And let's just add a load of specific stuff in there. Again, the lads haven't seen a ball in ages. Let's just throw them into that. What you're going to see with this approach, where the general really doesn't take enough of a proportion of your reintroduction to play, is you're going to see that spike in injuries like we saw in the Bundesliga a couple of weeks back when they resumed training. And like I said, we can learn an awful lot from looking at other sports and how they manage the reintroduction post-quarantine and post-COVID-19, how we get back to training and how we manage our load. I'm going to put a video for gym goers around this as well, but that's going to be something that's key for teams as well, because you're going to be possibly back in a gym setting. If you're not, you should be before getting back onto the field. But if you're returning to a gym setting, it's the same thing. You've got to give it a bit of time and build up those general facets of fitness again, and come back to increasing your load gradually. Look at what your general condition is. You wouldn't be getting into any specific lifting. So if I had a couple of Olympic lifters, I wouldn't be getting them straight back into cleans and snatches straight away. I'd be getting them underneath a bar, doing some back squats, building that base again, getting their general condition back up to scratch again, before putting them into any specific stuff like this. Okay, I hope you found that helpful, guys. If anyone's got any questions on it, I'm more than happy to answer them. It's something that I hope we'll see more of this than this when we get back onto Gaelic football field or rugby field later this summer. So just keep that in mind, that you should really, really have a good balance. You should start with general and less specific stuff, if none at all, for the first couple of weeks. Build up that base and then start to gradually drop that general stuff back down to a normal level and start to hike up that specific training, getting closer to the season starting. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that.